Hi Stampers, this is Kim with Great Inspirations. Welcome to my Stamp Happy Holidays series. Today we are going to be talking about the joy of scraps because these cards that you see in front of you were created using scraps. Scraps of cardstock and scraps of specialty papers such as foiled papers. Here's some more foil, some glimmer paper, that kind of thing. I don't know about you, but sometimes I just hoard these kinds of papers and I don't know why. Now I have used some of them because that's how I was able to get scraps, and then I kept the scraps. For example, this pattern right here came out from Stampin' Up! A few years back, and I think it was like in a spring catalog. It was meant for Valentine's Day. And I used part of one sheet. This scrap was about 5 inches by 12 inches. And I was able to use it for these cards, and I still have a little scrap left. But this piece right here of this glimmer paper, this is the shape it was. I'd cut it out for some reason, rounded the corners, and then just put it back in my scrap bin. I have a scrap bin that's just the specialty papers. Same with this. I had this piece of the gold. It was just perfect for my 4 1/4 inch square card. And all these were basically just scraps. So I thought, okay, what can I combine these scraps with? And I decided to combine them with some alphabet dies. Now, if you have a die cut machine or you're thinking about getting a die cutting machine, I would strongly encourage you to, at some point, get a complete alphabet set of dies. I think now I have maybe 4 sets, and I use them quite often. They're very versatile. And the one that I use today, it's from Stampin' Up! From ages ago, and it's called Large Letter Framelit Dies. And it has the complete alphabet, but only in the capitals or the uppercase. And it has punctuation. And each of these letters is approximately 2 inches tall. And I went looking online, and there are several companies now that do make a very similar alphabet die set, but one of them is Sizzix, branded by Tim Holtz, and it's those letters are 2 inches when they're die cut, and that was available through Sizzix, through scrapbook.com, through Simon Says Stamp, just through various outlets. So if you're looking for something similar to this, that is a good place. Those are some good places to go, and that's a pretty good stamp set. I think it's called Bulletin. It's alphanumeric because it's the alphabet and the numbers. And I believe the style is called Bulletin. It's very similar to these. There are lots of others in different sizes, and of course, I have different sizes, but to be the center of a card, I would recommend at least 1.5 to 2 inches tall. So that's just my recommendation. And one of the reasons is because of this little card right here. In the center of that O, I made a little shaker element, which, there they go. So you need a little space there. It's about 1/2 inch so that your shaker element will work. But I did find also, I think these sequins are a little large, and I found some smaller ones, and we'll go through and see if those happen to work better here in just a bit. Excuse me. But all I did on, let's see, these 4, for the joy, I just die cut my letters But then I used some scrap cardstock. Do you have lots of scraps of cardstock? I do. But I used some that's approximately the same color. Like this is a granny apple green, and then I don't know if you can really see on the edge there. Try to turn it. But I use granny apple green cardstock. You just use something that's very close, and I cut out like 4 other copies of each, and then I just stack them, adhere them together and stack them, so I don't need dimensionals. But it also gives it a really nice finished look because the color is very similar. And I mean, even if it's not the exact same color, it will be close enough. It just makes it look really neat and finished. Now, for this one, I used this is Flirty Flamingo. And I had, a couple colors to choose from there, but I did use the Flirty Flamingo because that was the color I was going to mount the joy against. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you can really see that. But these, I did use dimensionals on the back of these letters because I really wanted to lift them up and almost look like they're floating, against this background. But on these 4, I stacked the die cuts, basically just to give some dimension, and then I didn't have to worry about, except for this one, what size dimensionals to use to cut my dimensionals down or anything like that. Now this one is just simply stacked die cuts and just adhered to this card base where I'd embossed just a nice swirly little fancy design there in gold, and then I just added some gems, and then on the inside just Merry Christmas to you. And this one was, like I said, the fun one. I made the little shaker image, just mounted these on the gold, and then I put a few more sequins on the outside just to give more shimmer, and then nothing inside. I need to stamp something in there. Then this one, I cut the letters out of this specialty paper. I had them centered as best I could. Then I went and cut letters from the cardstock and basically inlaid them. Nice little inlaid look. I do have clear Wink of Stella on the letters, so it is very shiny. It's a nice shiny card. And then I had this little piece of the specialty paper left, so I just put it along the bottom of the inside just to give it a little more fanciness, little more Christmas spirit there. I think this is my favorite. Look how it twinkles. These are iridescent snowflakes, little teeny tiny adhesive backed ones. This is a white iridescent glimmer paper, and I just cut regular white cardstock, like 4 pieces or 4 of each, and like I said, stack them, put them together, and made this pretty little card here. I do have the front of the card base embossed, and it has a little snowflake pattern as well. And then inside I just put Happy Christmas. This one we've talked about. Excuse me. I used the letters that I cut from this piece for here, and like I said, I've stacked them up, and this is the one that I put on dimensionals to separate it from its mat. But I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see, I think. I did some scoring, and what I did for this piece, I flipped it over on the back side and put it in my scoreboard or in your trimmer, like I say, from the back side, and I scored at 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, and 3/4. Then I skipped 2 1/4 inches, and then I scored every 1/4 of an inch after that. And I have all those score lines, the measurements for those score lines on my corresponding blog post. And you will find the link to that in the description of this video. Now I did the same thing on the background, but instead of having the little bumps on the outside, they're on the back side. So now this just looks like little ridges. But I did it at a 1/4 inch, each 1/4 of an inch. So it just gave it some extra texture. Now this one, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about black Christmas cards, but I thought this was just really pretty with this glimmer paper, or shimmer paper I think it's called. And these are the letters I cut from this piece. And like I said, this piece I found in my scrap bin, and it already had the corners rounded. It was already that size. So I thought, oh, I could just cut out joy. And you always want to save the center so you can put the center back in. And then I just embossed to the world. That was actually joy to the world. I masked over the joy. And I just put this piece down to get an idea where to stamp this with the embossing ink. Put this away. And I stamped and embossed, and then I adhered this in place. So that's all I did with that one. And then in here, Merry Christmas to you. And there are some people I would send this to who would like this card. Maybe if you have some male friends who are single, or, I mean, women would like this too, I think. But it's just, for me, it was something different to do so much black on a Christmas card. So there's that one, and the little snowflake one, and then the one I embossed some texture, or yeah, I used my scoreboard to get some texture on there. There's that one, and our little shaker one, and then the one that's just stacked. So I thought we'd walk through the stacking. It's very simple. You just put one on top of the other, and I've chosen the letter Y. I'm going to get one of these silicone mats. And I saved my specialty paper for last. I glued it on last. And I'm just going to use the green glue, the Tombow multi-purpose. Of course, I haven't used this today, and I may need to unclog it. Here, let's get a piece of scrap and see if I can get it flowing. Yep, there we go. And I'm just going to put a little bit of, well, it was, there we go. Put a little bit on here. And then we just line them up. And I like to use the liquid glue because it gives you a little bit of extra time. Usually on the back of die cut letters, I like to put double-sided adhesive, like the adhesive sheets, on the back of my cardstock before I die cut. But for these, because I want to stack them, I like having that little bit of extra time that the liquid glue gives you. Just that little bit, like I said, wiggle room. And I'm thinking my glue bottle is about empty. I need to get another one out. Hopefully we'll make it through this. So here's the third one. Just get them all in line. And then you can use 3 or 4. You can even use 5. You could use as many as you like. And you can glue on the back of it if you prefer. I prefer to do it on the front. Now I'm not going to be able to really do that. Yes, I can. Because I put the glue on the one I'm going to put one over. I was thinking I wouldn't be able to do it to this one, but I will. So there's that. And then we're going to put this one on, just the same exact process. Yes, I do think I'm running out. Just Get this right on there. There you go. Now I usually set something like maybe a acrylic block on top of it to just kind of make sure all the layers get glued all nice and tight. But that is exactly how I did this. And these, all of those that were stacked. Not that one. These three. And this one, to a certain extent, that's how I glued it. But then, like I said, I put it up on dimensionals. And we talked about how I inlaid that. And of course, this one, it's just the card base showing through. But now this one, for the little shaker, it was a little different. And here, I have some die cut O's. Because really, what you want to do, you're going to end up with something like this one. Well, that one moved. See, I think they just need to be smaller to be able to move. So I have a couple of these. When I put my O through the die cut machine, it has a little space that makes an indent, and I tried to get rid of it by just putting it through my die cut machine again without the die. It worked a little, but on this green, it did not. It just made a mess. So I, on my card, I mean, it's still fairly evident, but I just left it because I thought that would be better than this mess. But we're going to use this one for our sample. And I did have Granny Apple Green O's cut out, but I lost a couple somewhere. So anyway, I've cut these. I think these are Old Olive, but just for demonstration purposes, I think it will be fine. And what I have is some window sheet, some acetate, and I just took one of these and drew around it. And I'm going to use, I used a silver marker on that one, but I'm going to use this black Sharpie. And it doesn't even have to be perfect, and just on the outside, because you just want an idea of where to cut. And then once you get it glued on, we're going to do some trimming. So it's, in the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter what color that is. So let's get that cut out. Okay. There we go. So we're going to need one of the cardstock O's, the back of it. We're going to put some, yeah, this will matter if it's the front or back, because this one, it needs to kind of be on the back to start. You could do it on the front, and then you'd have to put another one over top of the acetate. But just do whichever way works best for you. And then I'm just going to put this right over the O. And as you can see, maybe, I hope, we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming, but that is perfectly okay. And now we're going to, I think I'll put this, let's see. Don't need a lot. Then we'll just line this up. Just do the very, very best you can. There we go. Now we're going to put a couple more on. Let's put them right on here. And then we'll put some little sequins in here. And then the very last thing, Well, we'll put our acetate on the back, trim it, and then the last thing we'll do is put our specialty paper on. Just get this all lined up. We'll do one more. Now you can do several more of these if you like. And even if your O stands out farther than the J and the Y, I think that would be okay too. I think that would look kind of nice actually with the sequins in it. It would really call attention to it more. Okay, so excuse me, there are 4 of those. Now I have my itty bitty scoop with some itty bitty sequins in it. And there they are. I probably should have used a anti-static bag there to get some of the static off, but we'll see what happens. Now we're going to put this on the back. And I did put the marker lines facing to the back, so you probably won't see it. Oh yeah, those move around a little bit better. Not much, but they do move. Okay, so we need to trim it. We're just going to go around the edges as best as you can. If there's a teeny tiny bit that shows, and it's, doesn't have the, like right there, there's some of that black marker. But if it doesn't have the marker on it, and it's just like right at the edge, that's perfectly okay. I think I'm cutting through a couple of the layers of the cardstock there, and that's okay. I'm just going to go around. I'm just going to trim some other little places here. And then I could probably trim right there as well, but we'll just call that good for now. I'll get that out of there. And we're going to put this on. Now, if you have dies that are smaller, you could still just put some sequins in the center, but from what I've experienced using these 2-inch tall dies, and how some of my sequins were just too big, I think it would be better if you had the ones where there's at least about a ½ inch right here. If you have tiny little micro beads, they might work better. And it also might work better if you put a few more stacks of the letter. But, well, now they're all jumbled up down there. Oh, there they go. There they go. So that's how I made that. And you know how I made the stacked Y. And my little shaker part. And then, of course, you would just put some glue here and adhere it to the card. Now let's pull out our other cards. There's the shaker one. And the one with just the stacked letters. And there's our shimmer with the little iridescent snowflakes. This one with the scored ridges. And this one that's inlaid. And here's the black one with the cardstock that shows through. Well, that was my project for this week's Stamp Happy Holidays, to get out all those specialty paper scraps and to get out some of those scraps of cardstock that you have, and you do a little die cutting. Put those dies in your scraps to work, and you will have cards full of joy to send to all of your friends and relatives. Well, I want to thank you for joining me, and as always, in the description of this video, you will find the link to my corresponding blog post where you'll find more information about these cards and some of the products that I used. Thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, stamp happy!